Well, here I am shredding away. Started having some interesting problems. It started tripping more often than it was before. And then it finally decided to just slow down, stop. It wasn't tripped, but it wouldn't restart. So I'm thinking, uh-oh. Well, it's broke. My main philosophy has always been if it's already broke, then I can't break it. I may render it unrepairable trying to fix it, but it never hurts to try.
Well, as you might imagine, I figured for sure that I'd burn the motor up. I decided I'd go ahead and just take it apart just to confirm it. At least I'd know that I overloaded it doing too heavy a compost. So, after pulling it down, here's what I found. This one was gone. Carbon brush was totally used up. This one's about halfway.
Well, before spending a lot of time looking for new brushes, I better make sure that my original hypothesis wasn't correct. Guess it's time to check the stator and make sure that it's not burned up. The stator field windings check good, so let's check the armature. I'll just rotate it by hand here and we'll make sure that I've got good continuity all the way around it.
Well, now it looks like it's time to go hunt up carbon brushes. First place I tried was McMaster-Carr, and believe it or not, McMaster-Carr doesn't carry anything this size. Then I called the hardware stores. They don't carry anything this size either. So lastly, it was to eBay. And luckily enough on eBay, I found a pack of 4 for about 10 bucks. Apparently this is a fairly unusual size, and you note that they're grooved on the sides, so I've got to make some minor modifications to the carrier before I can use these. Here's one of the carriers. I'll go back and take the Dremel tool and just cut these little guides out, and that'll make it perfect for my units. I'm not sure what the stock units were, and Sunjoe does not sell any replacement parts for their shredders other than pre-cut lines, so you're pretty well on your own if this happens. Again, I just lucked out and found these on eBay. They're 8 by 10 by approximately 25 millimeter. This is the main armature assembly. I went through and cleaned up the commutator with steel wool. The black stripe is left over from the worn out brush contacting the commutator. It appears to be aluminum, so checking with the ohm meter, it does not offer significant resistance. Bearings are in good shape. I went ahead and cleaned out and repacked the main little gearbox up front. As always, a good set of soldering tools help make the job a whole lot easier. Trying to hold these where you can solder them is a real aggravation without proper tools. A short piece of a paper clip acts like an excellent little spring compressor, allowing me to solder without having to worry about the spring popping out on me.
And here is the motor completely reassembled. Brushes are in place. The factory retainers broke apart while I was trying to put it all back together, so I made my own using 2 paper clips. Everything is soldered in place. That finishes the motor. It's ready to go back in. Okay, I'm going to see if I can go ahead and get this thing put back together on camera for you. First item of consideration is the seal to the housing. This was the factory seal. As you can see, it's in pretty bad shape. I decided to go ahead and replace it with an O-ring. This O-ring is a 30 by 36 by 3. A quarter by quarter and a half by an eighth would probably work just as well. It'll be a little bit loose around the housing here, but anything to keep the trash from getting back down inside the motor housing. And there are 4 screws to hold this in place in the bottom. There's one there, one there, one on the back side, and another one where you can't quite see it over here. But I'll go ahead and put those 4 screws back in off camera. Okay, now I got the 2 red wires hooked back up. One goes there, and one goes there. And I'll plug those in off camera. Both connectors were just a little bit too loose to my taste, so I took the needle nose pliers and crimped them slightly just to make sure they had good solid electrical contact. Final step, I guess, before I put the cover back on, is filters. The unit brings air in through here, draws air in through the motor housing, down through the motor, and then exhausts it out here, and then the air leaves to the discharge filter side here. The factory provides 2 of these, minimal at best. I decided to go ahead and keep this one for the discharge filter, but I'm going to make my own out of a piece of carpet padding for the inlet filter. This flows just as well as the other filter does, but has better filter capacity to pull out some of the shredded debris and keep it from getting into the motor. Also, this one covers the openings where the other one did not cover all the openings on the supply side. This is a quick shot of the unit with the filters in place. A homemade supply side filter and the exhaust filter, which is a factory filter. Now it's ready to put the top back on the unit. I'll do that off camera and then flip it over and we'll take a look at the top side. You can clearly see my little O-ring seal there. And the factory seal would of course been yellow, but it seals the internal against the housing, preventing any from trash from getting down inside the motor from this angle. Got 3 screws put back together. One here, one here, and of course one here. I'll slap those back in off camera. Next step is put the shred line holder back on. Obviously it goes over the shaft. Then there's a retaining nut, and I'll put those back together off camera. Forgot to mention the nut size is a 1/2 inch, and obviously a 1/2 inch socket, shallow, and a good ratchet will take care of that. Final step before I go ahead and do a bump test is to put the cover back on, which of course goes right here. And now we're ready for the final pass-fail test. All the noise is in the gear train, so looks like to me that took care of it. I just fixed my shredder for about 11 bucks instead of buying a new one for over 100. Hope this helped you out. You found it interesting. Take care, and y'all check me out on a future video now. You hear, baby? Come on by.